chapters in the canyon, and I'm not an outdoors kind of person at all. I'm an urban person, but I just couldn't get it out of my mind, and I didn't want to make an outdoors film, like, but so I kept on with him really, and eventually he gave in, and let us made it like that.
And the movies have a tendency to distort reality. True, false? Just really, in terms of the way Danny gets into your head, the fantasy, the hallucination. This is the way it was, the way you felt it.
If I can put some words in my mouth right now, just to pull. Challenging. Yes, that's the answer. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that you see in the film that doesn't convey a sense of truth of the genuine and authentic experience of what I went through there, and that's probably why it's so powerful for me, especially when my sister is sitting next to me, when my wife is sitting next to me, when my best friend is here. So what you see as an urban film as it might be, it's actually it's not about a wilderness experience, it's about a human experience, about the connectedness with people, and I think that's what you really get to see is the character coming to understand that is truly what's important about life, and that's what he's getting out of the canyon to go do, and that's for me to be able to have that experience with my family, because that's why it's so powerful to know that it's for them that I did that I got out of it. But I have to say thank you to everyone who's standing next to me on stage here. It's I mean, as a documentary, it would not have been anywhere near as powerful as what that was. Thank you for convincing me otherwise, Dave.
James, it's an extraordinary performance. Did the two of you walk?
Yes, as soon as Danny asked me to do the movie, or soon after that, I met Aaron in LA. And, you know, over the course of pre-production, we talked many times, and he took us through every minute of his experience and, you know, showed us just all the physicality of what he did and why he was doing it and what he was thinking at the time. But the first time that I met him was in LA, and it was I met him at the Four Seasons. Danny was there, Christian was there, Sudarat, our production designer, and Aaron showed us the real tapes that he made. And as far as I know, he doesn't really show this to anyone other than his family and people he dresses in his tapes. And it was incredibly powerful. Because we're all sitting here and Aaron's on the stage and we know that he made it, and we can say it was a really hard thing, but he got out. But when you watch the tapes, it's Aaron not knowing that he's going to survive. And he made them over the course of all 5 days, up until, you know, within a couple of hours of when he figured out how to get out. And so really he is accepting his own death on these tapes. But he is so composed, and he's not composed, but he's putting up a front for everybody that he's talking to. I guess because he assumed that it was going to play at his funeral, and he wanted to leave one message for everyone. And that was, I've really never seen anything like that, and it really guided me through the performance, just being able to see that.
Before I turn it over to the audience, Danny, maybe just one last question from me. What was the biggest challenge for you as a filmmaker that you confronted making this film?
It was an opportunity, really. It's the challenge and opportunity was to try and not leave the canyon, really. I mean, apart from the fleeting glimpses he had of things that crossed his mind, it was to try and stay in the canyon, really, and not to cut away. That was always the ambition, was to just try and make it as immersive as an experience as possible. Because Aaron, the theory was the only way that you'll be able to tolerate, and thank you for tolerating, him cutting his arm off, because it's not a horror film like Saw or anything like that. We thought that the only way you'll be able to tolerate it is if you feel one with him, that you want him to get out, and you know now that's the only way he's going to get out, is to act. He's got to act on it now. And he had the vision of that his future child was a reason to carry on. It was stronger than anything in a way. So it was, that was the biggest challenge, is to try and make it as immersive as possible for everyone to experience it with James. And I do believe you are all capable of it. We are all capable of it. We don't think so now, because only he did, really. But we are all capable of it, I think. We are extraordinary in the way we have this extra ambition, which is that we wanted to see this feeling that we all pull each other through in some way. These enormous crowds we live in, these cities we live in, these groups of people we live in, we drive us all mad sometimes. We actually do pull each other through somehow. Magnetically, we pull the wandering sheep back somehow. We're a force to be reckoned with. That was one of the ideas.
Okay, over to the audience. This person, yes, right there. Sorry, the woman is in front of you. And then go ahead.
Thank you all for this incredible story. I know this is overwhelming for you, Aaron, but I would like to know if you can say, out of everything that you saw, what was the hardest thing for you to sit here and watch the rest of the world experience for the first time?
Did everyone hear the question, first of all? What was the hardest thing that Aaron had to experience watching this film?
It wasn't something that was on the screen. It was turning to my right and my left, and seeing, especially for my sister, who tonight this was the first time for her to watch. That's the hardest part for me. To be here, it's a blessing, and it's also the challenge. I know that it's putting her and my family through quite a lot to go through this, because no matter if you've read my book or have heard me speak from a stage about it, as my family has, that it's still, to watch it, I mean, you really go through it. And so that actually is the hardest thing of watching this film, and it's also the greatest blessing. It's a gift from the team that's here, and all the people who aren't on the stage too, but it's really a gift to my family.
Gentleman behind.
Hi, great film. I was wondering, when through the whole process, when you're stuck in the painting, I'm thinking about it, and it's like in this city, people are begging and praying and making bargaining with God that maybe Leafs will win a Stanley Cup. But the whole time, I don't know if that was a decision on the filmmaker's part, or if that was actually producing the MC, any, were you praying? Were you asking, were you making deals that, you let me have this, I'll give you that, or?
I'm not sure even God has the power for the Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup.
So, were you praying?
I did pray, and I did bargain. I offered as many deals, but there were never any contracts that came back my way. I guess I kind of like, in my mind, sort of went through the phone book under deities and sent one up to anybody that might be listening. And then after I didn't hear anything back, I was like, okay, devil, if you're out there, let's make a deal. But ultimately, the biggest prayer that I made was actually the one about whether I should end it, take action to actually kill myself there, rather than go through the hell that I knew was to come, or if I should see it through. And just my own intuition answered that, and I'm very glad that it did. But it said I should see this through to the end. So that was perhaps the first turning point. Well, you don't see that, although we did talk about that extensively as we did some of the screenwriting and development. But it's one of those things that Danny said, we probably couldn't show everything.
No, we had a scene. James recorded a scene of Prayer to God, but in editing, everything's got to be up for the cost, even the Almighty. So.
Did you actually run into the two girls?
Yes, and they're actually even in the final scene of the film around the couch, as well as many of my actual family and friends, but also those Megan and Christy, their actual names, they gave their consent, and I think they feel pretty psyched that these lovely ladies.
Yeah. Next question. Over here. This gentleman right here.
Great film, and congratulations for everybody. I was wondering, Simon, you talked about the challenge of writing a screenplay that has very little dialogue.
The challenge is writing a screenplay without much dialogue.
Yeah, Danny and I co-wrote it together, but I'll say this one. It wasn't a lack of dialogue so much as a one-man film, and not just a one-man film, but a man who's standing next to me, and I had everyone making the film had a huge responsibility to get the story right, to make it authentic and truthful as much as you can. That's the big word. And yet still make a film that is structured and has a shape and conforms to what people expect and want to be in cinema. And that was a big juggling act at all, because ultimately, if Aaron feels we have mistold the story in the whole tale, that was the biggest juggling act, rather than being a one-man. I kind of love the challenge of being a one-man film. That was the greatest play with.
My question is, was it frustrating shooting in the same location for the majority of the film?
I didn't quite hear it myself.
Oh, okay. Was it frustrating shooting in the same location for the majority of the film?
Was it frustrating shooting in the same location for the majority of the film?
We shot for 8 weeks altogether, and we shot for 6 days of that in the real canyon. And ironically, we were there on the anniversary of the seventh anniversary of Aaron's entrapment. And then we replicated the canyon in a studio in Salt Lake City, and we replicated it exactly, and we didn't change it. We didn't, because normally you fly walls so you can get in and out, but we built it exactly the same, and that was the idea, is that there was no way out really. It was, and we had to work within those strict confinements, and we had to embrace that as something positive that we were going to go with, you know, rather than get frustrated by it, except in the sense that obviously he is enormously frustrated by it. So we tried to embrace it as something that was going to be a huge contribution to the film. Just how it's a tiny little corridor in a little cul-de-sac in East Change at the end of it, you know.